15th of November 2017, Australia decided yes to put the marriage equality vote for Parliament to start the legislative debate. It is considered a victory for the LGBTQ community, a turning point on Australian society's view of same-sex marriage. In this report, we talk about the instrumental role of social media in the marriage vote, how social media reflected and influenced public opinion, how it amplified the dark side of the debate, and highlighting the dominant arguments of the yes and no vote in social media.
The same-sex marriage vote was announced by Malcolm Turnbull in 2017. Each Australian citizen was given the right to vote. The vote was organised through the Australian Bureau of Statistics at the cost of $122 million. The results are announced on the 15th of November and are non-binding. Whilst there may be many who do not vote because they're ambivalent, there are those who do not want to vote. This vote has also seen Australian society divided into two, yes and no. The vote has reached all parts of Australian culture: TV debates, radio, memes, street rallies and art.
Social media is extremely influential in the same-sex marriage debate. This helps to maintain a transparency to help support the plight and to allow for education and information. Microblogging platform Twitter is a rich site of debate, as the short messages often create a springboard for debate and support. Facebook allows for the mobilisation of campaigns. The No campaign is mainly represented by the Coalition for Marriage.
As a mum, I've come to realise the importance of voting no to changing the marriage law. If the marriage law changes, it will become discrimination not to teach LGBTQ sex education and radical gender theory in our schools. Don't be fooled, they are a package deal. Every vote counts, so don't wait. Mums and dads, send in your no vote right away while there's still time to push back.
You know, the current Love is Love hashtag being used by the Yes campaign for same-sex marriage, well, that's an example of an emotive argument. Actually, it's not an argument at all. It's simply a hashtag. It's not measurable, and there are no limits or qualifications placed on it. Love is not an automatic qualification for marriage. I love my children, but I can't, nor would I, want to marry them. No, in this case, love is not love.
The Yes side has a number of different groups on Facebook. The main group representing them is the Yes for Marriage Equality group. However, smaller groups represent regional groups. They include Adelaide Students Vote Yes for Marriage Equality and the Shire Votes Yes. In 2011, the same-sex referendum in the state of New York saw the influence of Twitter in the forming and analysing public perception. It was during this event that saw an unprecedented increase in Twitter activities, with a very steep upward trajectory as far as the number of tweets were concerned. Since then, Twitter has become imperative for the future of news reporting and public debate.
However, the downside of this marriage equality debate is that it has created an environment which has made both sides vulnerable to the casualties of this dichotomous decision. In social media, there have been cases of hate speech, homophobic languages, or what the law refers to as vilification. Functioning under the LGBT Legal Services, Project Like Love is an organization based in Brisbane tasked to monitor online vilification incidents and endorse these cases to proper authorities. Camille, the project's coordinator, tells us more.
At times searched for hashtags.
Yes.
So, for example, hashtag it's okay to say no, hashtag vote no. Even in the Facebook search engine, pedophile, is a word that comes up in a lot of the hate speech. It's that a person must not, by a public act, incite hatred towards or serious contempt for or severe ridicule of a person or group of persons on the ground of race, religion, sexuality, or gender identity of the person or members of the group.
From our online research, our interviews, and our scraping of social media platforms, we have found that 3 key themes have emerged within both the vote yes and the vote no discourses. Now, it's not to suggest that these key themes represent the entirety of vote no or vote yes altogether, but they have been prevalent within our research. So, it's important to understand how these themes and how the language used to convey them creates and recreates understandings of sexuality and gender, and ultimately attitudes towards the same-sex marriage debate. The first dominant theme on the no side that emerged in our research was that a no vote was linked to maintaining traditional family units and traditional family values. More specifically, maintaining the tradition that marriage is and should be between a man and a woman. This was made clear in many ways, notable of which from the Coalition for Marriage Materials, through the frequent linking of traditional marriage to #VoteNo on Twitter, and from the anecdotes shared in many of our interviews. Upon further analysis, linking the theme of traditional marriage to voting against same-sex marriage is representative of heteronormative attitudes. Heteronormativity refers to the perception or normative system that states that heterosexuality, relationships between males and females, and binary genders of male and female is normal, and that other sexual and gender identities in relationships that fall outside this categorization are different or abnormal. Thus, the linkage of traditional marriage to voting no helps to normalize heterosexual identities and relationships, and alienate others, which in this case is homosexuality. The second prevalent theme was tying vote no discourse to safe schools discourse. As discussed earlier, the Safe School Initiative attempts to make schools inclusive of pluralistic sexual and gender identities. In this case, vote no was tied to the Safe School counter movement so that children in Australian schools would not be exposed to untraditional or non-heterosexual identities and relationships. This particular issue, as made evident by the videos before, was directed at trying to influence the mom or dad voter. In some of the more drastic threads of discourse, tweets, and videos, language like radical and perverse was used with pernicious intent to further alienate non-heterosexual identities, while correspondingly normalizing or privileging heterosexuality. This use of language is representative of homo-hysteric culture. The last main thread of vote no discourse was tied to religious freedoms and is used to appeal to the conservative no voters who may worry about a more liberal movement in Australia. This discourse suggests that allowing same-sex marriage would hinder people from being able to worship freely and have free political beliefs. The language used in this discourse suggests that there is an incompatibility with same-sex marriage in certain religious and/or political beliefs, and that they cannot coexist. The first dominant thread of discourse on the yes side centered in on themes of fairness and equality. In this case, words linked with acceptance, inclusiveness, and tolerance, as well as love as universal, were used. This is emblematic of pro-gay culture, whereby language is used that is representative of non-heterosexual identities and non-binary genders. This language promotes and seeks to normalize pluralistic identities, whether heterosexual or homosexual, and does not have a negative social impact where it privileges one identity over the other. The next thread of vote yes discourse was directed at legal rights and social benefits. This discourse takes the focus of conversation away from a gender and sexuality standpoint by bringing the conversation to focus in on the legal and social implications that the results of the vote may have. Different topics within this discourse included benefits pertaining to immigration, taxation, and property. The final thread of vote yes discourse was tied to a need for Australia to become more progressive. This discourse attempted at gaining support by saying Australia and Australians were stuck in the past and lagging behind other countries that have allowed same-sex marriage. Correspondingly, this discourse condemned voting no because it would stand in the way of Australia becoming more progressive. This shows that vilification and condemnation of those holding differing perspectives and attitudes towards the same-sex marriage debate exists on both sides of the vote.
At the end of the tunnel, social media has become a positive outlet for empowerment for some members of the LGBTQ. It has become a channel for resistance to heteronormativity and homophobia, and a means to renegotiate their position to create a more positive depiction of their image in modern society.
Social media activity, our lives have been positively portrayed to our family, our friends, and beyond. Right now, social media plays an important role just to help people understand that legalizing same-sex marriage is a right that everybody deserves.
Social media actually helped me. I've seen other friends, they have a friend, a gay friend, they got a boyfriend, they're happy. And, so I've seen these sort of things happening in the past. So that's why I feel like maybe if I come out, other people will accept me as well. A lot of my guy friend, like straight guy friends, they actually commenting on my WeChat. They say, Zemo, I don't care who you are. You're my friend, so I'm gonna support you whoever you are. So I was really surprised.
In conclusion, social media has played an important and multifaceted role within Australia's same-sex marriage vote. For those voting both yes and no, it has been used to voice opinion, to raise awareness, to rally support, to educate, and to organize. When looking deeper into what is being said on social media, we can see that it has had both positive and negative social effects. Both yes and no supporters have used social media to portray positive images of themselves, of their communities, and of their values. This has helped to facilitate awareness and communication in a respectful manner. However, both yes and no supporters have been subject to and guilty of condemnation and vilification. With little to no policing, social media has acted as a channel to spread hurtful language, which has exacerbated divisiveness within Australia. Author Jan van Dijk asserts that we live in an era of accelerated culture thanks in part to social media. Social media networks have acted as a channel to diffuse millions of voices, spread public opinion, and express strong political messages. This has certainly been the case for Australia's 2017 same-sex marriage postal plebiscite. Looking closely at social media discourses surrounding the marriage equality vote, the clashing voices and opinions suggest that diversity, difference, and even divisiveness deeply exists in Australia. On Wednesday, November 15th, 2017, as what many on social media had predicted, Australia has voted yes and wants legislatures to pass same-sex marriage into law. However, this does not necessarily signify an end, but might only be the beginning of yet a much bolder, louder, and more emotional discourse on social media. For now, let us all stay tuned and stay connected.